So if you're ready to learn and become aligned with your highest self, let's get started. Vamos lá. So before we get into today's topic, I did want to answer Tasha's question of what my daily routine looks like. And keep in mind, this is what works for me. And I'm going to keep stressing that you have to find what works for you. I don't want to bring the mood down by talking too much about the sadness of losing Hoshi, but I do want to be upfront with you and tell you that that's taken a big blow to how my routine went. When you've had a dog for 16 years, they are a large part of your daily routine. So my routine shifted a lot after Hoshi passed away in January. So this is the edited version for now. And I'm not going to tell you my entire routine because there's actually a lot more to it. And I'm going to be incorporating some more to it starting today. So I don't want you to feel that you have to fall in line with what I do. And this is how you go love. And this is how you transform. No, this is just what works for me right now until I get my next dog one day. And I'm not rushing it. So don't think that I'm about to have a dog by the next episode or anything like that. I start my day off now at the same time that Eric does, or right before he gets up. And I used to get up obviously much earlier, like I mentioned. So after I do the usual, brushing your teeth, washing your face, I then make sure he has everything he needs before he goes to work. So for instance, we drink sparkling water. So I make sure he has his sparkling water. That is our brand. It is the only brand that we drink. And it sucks that it has become so popular because of one of these people doing one of these unrealistic routines, because we have always drank this particular brand, and the brand is called Saratoga. I have always loved Saratoga. There was another brand that I used to drink before that, but I can't find it now, so I won't even recommend it here. But I love their sparkling water. I love their water in general, but their sparkling water is perfection. And anyway, so I make sure that he has that. And once he goes off to work, now I'm checking on the podcast. I'm checking on the stats. I'm checking to see what needs to be done that day or that week. If it's the beginning of the week, I start my work week off on Monday, just like everybody else. But when you do have your own company, you get to decide when you're starting it, how many meetings you're having, which we don't have many because as somebody who comes from corporate America, I've learned that in my own company, I am not about to waste everybody's time with a bunch of meetings that could have been an email. Absolutely not. Or could have been a text. Absolutely not. If there's something I have a question about, I reach out to that team member. The end. But that's something that we go over. So I will reach out to, for instance, Santiago and say, hey, can you add this to the show notes? Or I will say, hey, Victor, let's go ahead, and today we're going to talk about this episode coming up, or this is what I want to talk about. When can we chat about it? And there you go. That's it. And we talk about it later on that day, and I'll get to that in a second. So from there, after I've checked everything on the podcast and I make sure everything's fine, I go and shower, and then I work out. I have 2 rest days, but I work out 5 days a week for an hour. That's what works for me and my body and my genetics. You do not have to do that. I do want you to keep in mind when it comes to working out that is very much so personal too. You have to find what fits you. For instance, I used to lift heavy weights, very much so. And then when I was in the ER last year, the doctor recommended that I stop doing that. And then another doctor recommended that I stop doing that. Like, hey, you're actually putting way too much strain on yourself. You are making your condition much worse. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to ease up on these 100-pound plus weights. You got to chill out. So I had to change my entire workout routine. So this is what I mean by finding what fits you. And now I have my own home gym. Shout out to Eric, because at the time of this recording, he has just added another beautiful pink item that's going in the pink Josie gym. And I'll talk about that on another fitness episode that I plan to do in the future. So after I work out, I'm sorry, why did my voice crack like that? After I work out, I then shower again. And some people say, oh, that's so Brazilian of you. That's just so Josie of me. That's just who I am. I take a lot of showers. And after I shower, you might be wondering, sidebar, when have you eaten? I haven't yet. I'm not a breakfast person. And this is what I mean by this is what works for me. I don't think that this works for everybody though. You might be super hungry in the morning and you need to find a time to eat a big breakfast. That is amazing. It just does not work for me. Absolutely doesn't fit in my schedule. It's very rare that I'm hungry in the morning. So there's that part, right? So in the morning, I do have my Red Bull every single day. I am endorsing all the brands today, but you all know by now how much I love Red Bull. And yes, I gave up Red Bull for a while and then fell off the wagon, but that's my breakfast. After I've taken my second shower, now it's time to get to work. And keep in mind, this is still earlier in the day. The day is not over yet. And I make sure that I text my mom or I send her a voice memo every day. And when I do have more time in my day, then I will just call her. So for instance, on a rest day, I will call her. And I make sure that that's weekly. I then am now talking to Victor about what an upcoming episode, what we're going to be talking about. The team joins in. So Santiago and Gabriel, if there's things that they want me to discuss, this is where they chime in at. Sometimes we are just all together in this, and sometimes it's just me and Victor. It just depends. Since Victor does produce a lot of this, then he is more of, at the forefront of what I discuss with him for upcoming episodes. If it's not a day where him and I need to discuss anything, or me or the rest of the team need to discuss anything, then it's a day where I am recording or researching. Now, they sometimes help me research as well. I try to make sure that I do the bulk of the research right now. Once Lua Nova grows, then my team will be doing most of the research for me. But at the moment, and probably always, I do most of it because I'm very much so hands-on. And think that if something goes wrong or I say something wrong, that I need to be the one that's blamed for it. That should always be the case. Even if I don't care if one of my team members did mess something up, I'm always going to say I did it. Yes, I'm going to take the blame. Always. That's always going to be the case. But I digress. So I've recorded. I have talked to my team. Whatever needs to be done that day, that's when this is getting done. So now I'm hungry. Yes, I get hungry later in the day, and I think this has to do with the fact that I don't have a regular schedule. And when I worked in corporate, I was actually the same way. My lunch break, I remember, would be at 1, from 1 to 2, and I was never hungry between 1 and 2. Now, that is me. I'm in no way promoting in any way, shape, or form any kind of eating disorders. I'm not saying you need to fast. That is what works for me and me alone. And I think for me, it has to do with, I tend to by now be drinking quite a bit of water, and sparkling water will make you feel like you're full. But now I've eaten. Now it's time to eat. So now I've eaten whatever it is I want to eat that day. Typically a lot of quote unquote girl dinners. And I'm using a lot of quote unquotes, but yes, I digress. Let me see, because I actually did put some of this in my notes so I wouldn't forget anything. I need to incorporate meditation. So that's the part that I'm going to be adding in here, because I'm not the best, surprisingly, at meditating. But now it's time to wind down my day, my own work day. And what I do is I typically check the podcast stats. Again, unfortunately, I check them way too much. And I now am looking at more ideas for future content. So I might be on YouTube. I might be on TikTok, or I might just be living life, and a conversation sparks the next episode, or I go somewhere and that sparks the next episode. That, for a content creator, is something that I encourage. You've got to live life so that you know what to talk about in the future. And even when you're an introvert like I am, you got to find your inspiration somewhere, right? So as we're winding down the day, let's say that I'm fast forwarding some, because obviously you all know I like to clean. So I'm cleaning a lot. I'm not even going to include all of that in my daily routine. It's just kind of a given. Yes, I'm always cleaning. And fast forward to the evening, I take another shower, and then by then Eric is home. So my day is done. So that is what works for me. Notice I didn't say anything about you got to get up at 3 a.m. and you got to put your face in Saratoga. You don't have to do any of that if that's not what fits you.